Joe Biden is on a banning spree. He's got just 4 days left as US president and he wants to make the most of it. Every day he's targeting something new. First it was Chinese electric vehicles, then it was China's chip industry, and now it is all Chinese cars. That's right. Biden has unveiled new rules for Chinese vehicles. They would ban nearly all Chinese cars from the US market. It's a pretty drastic move, but not a surprising one. The US will go to any lengths to preserve its hegemony, whether it's by using military force or diplomatic blackmail or such targeted bans. So tonight, let's take a closer look at US policy. Why are they banning Chinese cars? Where else does US hegemony exist, and how are they preserving it? The new auto rules were announced by the US on Tuesday. They target connected or smart cars, which are basically vehicles with internet. They help you navigate, get real-time traffic data, unlock and lock remotely, and also access games and movies. Sort of like a vehicular smartphone. Such smart cars are becoming popular nowadays. By 2030, they're expected to make up 95% of all cars on the road. So the US wants to keep China away. Say your car has a Chinese Bluetooth system, or a Chinese Wi-Fi connector, or a Chinese autopilot, basically any Chinese software or hardware linked to smart functions, then those cars cannot be sold in the US. The rules won't apply immediately. The software curbs will be imposed from 2027 and the hardware curbs from 2029. They will first apply to passenger cars only, but then they can be extended to commercial ones too. So it's a very expansive move. The question is why? As always, national security. That's the reason Americans love to give. Listen to the US Commerce Secretary.
Cars today aren't just steel on wheels, they're computers. They have cameras, microphones, GPS tracking, and other technologies that are connected to the internet. Through this rule, the Commerce Department is taking a necessary step to safeguard U.S. national security and protect Americans' privacy by keeping foreign adversaries from manipulating these technologies to access sensitive or personal information.
Now, there is some truth here. Smart cars can be a privacy nightmare. They collect all kinds of data from drivers. In theory, this data can be shared with the Chinese regime. So yes, it is a privacy concern. Having said that, we cannot look at this move in isolation. Look at everything leading up to it. Last year, Biden raised tariffs on Chinese EVs. This year, he put China's largest battery maker on a blacklist. And this week, he tightened chip supply to China. If you add all this up, one thing becomes clear. This is not about privacy. This is about preserving American hegemony, protecting their dominance in key sectors. And the strategy is pretty clear: squeeze out the competition using pressure. A clear example of that is TikTok. Most other social media platforms are American, but TikTok is owned by China. So what did the US do? They're forcing China to sell the platform. Again, the same excuse, that of national security. Another example is undersea internet cables. Most of them are laid and repaired by Western companies. But in the last decade, China jumped in. In 2018, Meta and Amazon decided to lay cables in Southeast Asia. They also roped in China Mobile and cue US meddling. Washington put pressure on Meta and Amazon, so by 2021, China Mobile was out of the deal. Why? The same national security excuse. And don't get us wrong here, China does pose a national security risk. They are known for hacking and espionage. But guess what? The Americans do the same thing. Let's go back to TikTok. The US accuses them of sharing data with China's government. But America does the very same thing. Look at numbers from 2013 to 2022. The US made 3.3 million requests for user data. 3.3 million requests. Basically, they asked tech giants like Meta and Apple to give personal information. America was number one on that list. They requested twice as much as the European Union. So what moral authority do the Americans have? The same US also spied on its own allies. They snooped on European leaders from 2012 to 2014. Chances are they're still doing it. Yet the US claims to defend freedoms and privacy. Today, their target is China. Tomorrow, it could be India or Japan. Basically, anyone who gives competition to the Americans. So what's the solution? Ideally, we need neutral alternatives, if not, at least homegrown ones. Many countries have already started doing this. Take data centers, for example. US tech giants store most of their data in America, but recently countries have started fighting this. They're asking tech giants to store data locally. And this is just one example. The US has created dozens of systems to serve their interest in the economy, in communications, and in defense. It will take a global campaign to weaken it, and the US knows that will never happen.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines. Detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.